Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. April 15th, tax day, has come and gone, but federal tax issues or problems with the IRS remain for some Vermonters. And further, the identity theft epidemic is affecting Vermonters as scam artists are stealing billions from the Treasury. So today we're going to explore tax-related issues with two guests. Christine Spidel is a staff attorney with Vermont Legal Aid, and she heads the Low Income Taxpayer Project. And joining us from the Central Vermont Low Income Taxpayer Clinic is enrolled agent Deirdre Thurston. I want to thank you both for being with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Deirdre, let's start out talking about what an enrolled agent is and what do you do?
An enrolled agent is a federally licensed practitioner who is empowered by the IRS to represent taxpayers with matters in front of IRS. And I handle controversies. It could be anything from ID theft to proving your dependence.
And you also deal with English as a second language.
Absolutely. That is the new Americans that are here and teaching them their rights and responsibilities as taxpayers.
And so tell us a little bit about that project. I mean, trying to understand our tax system for people who are Americans and speak English is hard enough, but you know, add to that someone who's new to our country.
Yes, yes. You have to really understand too that, as you said, this is all new to them, our ways and everything, and they have many questions, and I want them to be comfortable. I'm trying to build a relationship knowing that they have, if they have any questions whatsoever, they can contact the clinic and get those questions answered, no matter what it is. It can be anything to do with taxes. So it's going well, but they need to be aware of many things that are going on out there that they don't know.
Right. And so who should contact you for help?
Anyone, I cover the English as a second language piece, covers the whole state of Vermont. They would contact Central Vermont Low Income Taxpayer Clinic. We have a toll-free number, 1-800-639-1053. My office number is 479-3044.
And you get calls not just at tax time, you get calls all the time.
Oh, absolutely, year-round. Year-round tax, this clinic runs year-round tax service.
And that's exactly what you want people to know, is that they should contact you.
Absolutely, don't hesitate. I will do everything in my power to assist the taxpayers, and if for whatever reason I can't, I will get them the help that they need.
What ESL communities do you see in Vermont, and what are some of the challenges in reaching them?
The ESL communities are right here in Burlington area, Winooski. The challenges are getting into the environment, bridging that gap there and getting in my foot in the door and letting them know who I am and what I'm about, that I'm not government, that I'm there to assist them.
And so what are some of the basic things, taxpayer rights, that everyone should know, whether you're a new American or you've been here all your life?
Absolutely. That you have the right to representation before the IRS, that you have the right to only pay the tax that you feel that you owe. And if you get a letter, for example, and you question it, you have a right to an answer. You have the right to know why that they might have changed your tax return, you know, because they're not always right. And so don't just assume that the government is right. You have the right to have every question answered.
And so that's what you're all about, is finding those answers.
That's right, answering those questions, assisting if I can. If I can't assist for whatever reason, is to bring in the pro bono people to help with my case with the taxpayer to get them what they need.
I think another thing that we do, the tax clinics, is we try to educate people so that they can understand that they have rights, they can advocate for themselves. Since the two of us covering the whole state of Vermont can't help every single person with an IRS problem, but there's a lot of things that people can get for themselves. And the IRS is just so scary to people that I think we can dispel some of the scariness and help people understand what their options are, and that people can do a lot on their own.
She's absolutely right.
People are afraid of going to jail. People think that if they get a letter, it means that somebody is, you know, especially with the new Americans.
Absolutely.
People are very afraid of being seen as shirking their responsibilities. They want to prove that they are here and they are going to contribute and pay their taxes like they should. And so when, you know, I have to explain that when you get a letter from the IRS, they're not necessarily right and they're not judging you. It's just a computer that generates those things.
Exactly, exactly. If I've heard once, I've heard many, many times, unfortunately, when I speak to taxpayers, the fear. They're afraid, and it makes me sad. I don't want anybody to be afraid of the government or anything. But you hear that. They're afraid they're going to go to jail if they don't do this, this, and this the minute they get those letters. And she's absolutely right. Those are computer generated, you know. And
no human has made a judgment about you.
Absolutely.
Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, identity theft is a growing problem when it comes to taxes. The National Taxpayer Advocate reports that ID theft is the 4th most serious problem facing taxpayers. The IRS has failed to provide effective and timely assistance to victims. The bottom line is that ID theft is costing American taxpayers billions of dollars, and Vermonters are being targeted. Christine, what kind of ID theft is the IRS targeting?
We see a wide variety of cases. The IRS is, what they're doing is they're targeting the fraudulent refunds and trying to prevent those from being sent out. So mostly what they've put their resources in is computer filters to freeze suspicious refunds and prevent them from going out. And we see those cases where some stranger has just filed a tax return with your information, and then the legitimate person's return does not get accepted. They don't get their refund for months and months and months.
Has that money already been given out by the government?
Sometimes it has and sometimes it hasn't. Even if the process is working and the fraudulent refund is frozen, it still is going to affect the legitimate taxpayer's account, depending on what the IRS computer has done with the account to flag it. So we're seeing people that you know, have a real need for the refund money. People count on their refunds around here, and they budget for them, and that money usually, for most people, it's gone. It's
already spent.
It's already spent.
Oh, yes.
And if you get tangled up into an ID theft issue, it's going to be at least 6 months before you see that money. So we're seeing real hardships because of that.
And so how does this information get, I mean, obviously you wouldn't know if someone stole your identity until something like this happens. And so how does that theft get your information that can make them file taxes and get your refund?
Well, you need a name, social security number, and there are organized criminal gangs trading in that sort of information. We've seen horrific stories, especially out of places like Florida, with people offered to sell 100 identities on a flash drive. There's a black market in information, and people use it to get money out of the government, because you can just, the problem is that the IRS, when they get a refund, when they get a tax return, they don't know if it's correct. They don't do the data matching until 9 months later.
Right.
So somebody files and they claim something that a human could see as obviously a little bit strange, like a 65-year-old claiming a college education credit. There were a lot of those this year.
Really?
Because it's, $2,400 in the thief's pocket.
Wow.
So the problem really is this time lag with the IRS. They get the returns, they pay out the money, and then 6 months later they do the data matching.
Unfortunately,
it's a crazy system.
And unfortunately, this ID theft can occur with people that you're trusting, friends that have offered to help you do your tax return.
Let's talk a little bit about getting help with your tax return, because that, I mean, you should go to somebody who you know is certified.
Absolutely. They're still working on getting certain laws changed about, the return preparer exams and everything. But yes, trust the person that's doing your taxes. You know, unfortunately, I have seen a case where a friend helped someone do their taxes, and then when the friend left, other information was added, their bank account numbers, and people don't have a clue till the refund doesn't come.
And just because somebody says they're a tax preparer doesn't necessarily mean.
Right now, anybody can call themselves a tax preparer. There's no
right.
licensing requirement, zero. So you have to know the person's reputation, and unfortunately, I saw one very sad case where a preparer was targeting a certain ethnic community
Yes.
of people who didn't speak English and people who didn't know the system, and really exploiting that. So it is something to know, and just know that it happens, unfortunately, and.
We have a good VITA that takes care of a lot of Vermont, I believe. I know, Community Action has a wonderful VITA program that they offer to people, and the VITA is where a lot of, if you're income eligible, and they serve a tremendous population here in Vermont. And then United Way here in Burlington offers that VITA preparation. And
that's free tax preparation.
That's right.
And I believe there's only over 60 sites throughout Vermont
yes.
that do the program.
Pardon me.
So that's really good for people who can't afford to pay a preparer.
Exactly. And also, we talk about identity theft too. You mentioned some good advice that a trooper had given you.
That's right. I went to a seminar, and there was a Vermont state trooper there, and he shared with the group some information, and I was not aware of this till I had been a participant in this seminar, that when you get catalogs in the mail where your name is and there's numbers above it in the color-coded boxes, he was telling the group that a lot of identity theft is occurring around that information. And I never knew that. So since then, I make sure when I recycle, I rip that piece off before I put it in recycling, and I shred it. So people need to be aware of that as well. Watch your information. Don't just throw your receipts into the garbage and things like this. Anything with your name, those numbers, as I mentioned, shred them.
Even if you're using a debit card at the grocery store, put your hand over.
That's right. Shield your information, because there are people out there that are with these high technological phones that they have now. They can take your information and take a picture of it, and then when they get back to where they are, they blow it up, and that's how identity theft is occurring.
Now, you both work at low-income taxpayer clinics or projects. Who can use your help?
People who have problems with the IRS. Any kind of, I say, if you have a letter from the IRS, call, and you don't understand it or you want help with it, call. We do have some income guidelines, but they are relatively high compared to a lot of other programs around here. Like right now, the guideline is $28,725 a year for a single person, or for a family of 4, almost $60,000.
Okay.
So we can help a lot of people.
And so how can people get in touch with you?
They can call, Deidre mentioned the Central Vermont Low Income Tax Clinic at 1-800-639-1053. And for the rest of the state, they can call Vermont Legal Aid at 1-800-889-2047.
Okay. And how about identity theft resources?
There's a lot out there that people can look at. There's the...
I think there's more than people realize out there, that they can do.
The Federal Trade Commission has a good website with lots of resources on it. Their number is 1-877-438-3338. They have an identity theft affidavit that you can send in.
And there's also for low-income tax clinics too.
There's the IRS identity theft unit, so you can get an indicator put on your account.
That's right, and then once you get through everything for the next year, they'll issue you a PIN number that's exclusive to you to use on your tax return. And it kind of flags everything if anything else comes in.
Interesting.
Yep.
So So that's one resource, is the IRS Identity Theft Unit, and then the Taxpayer Advocate Service at the IRS is a really good resource for people who are having problems with the system and just not getting anywhere.
Right. They can also contact the Attorney General's office as well and get a wealth of information there.
All right. Well, the big thing is if you have questions, get some answers.
That's right. Absolutely. Don't let anything set. When you even suspect there might be identity theft, you need to react immediately.
Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you for
A lot of good
having us.
information. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.